that will give us some opening remarks. Is the minister available now for opening remarks, Moses? Okay. And then we'll have the presentation by the Director of Investor Services, and then we'll do some success stories. And Peter DeWet from the Namibian Development Corporation will provide some success stories. So we'd love to invite His Excellency up to give us some introductory remarks on the investment case for Namibia.
This is a story about a very rare gem. The Republic of Namibia was founded 20 years ago and had obtained full independence from South Africa in 1990 and has a population of 2.1 million people and a stable multi-party parliamentary democracy with regular, regional, local and national elections.
Imagine a country of limitless possibility, breathtaking landscapes. Namibia offers political stability. Namibia, a gem worth investing in.
I invite all of those who want to invest in this country to come and work together with us. Here you have a country peaceful in all respect. Please do come and work with us. We receive you with open hands.
Well, nothing seems to be working. We missed the gem, but I'm here maybe to just tell you that we bring the message, goodwill from Namibia, the brave, land of the brave. After a long struggle, we gained our independence and we created a democratic state, a modern democratic state, where we are having regular elections. Not that I'm saying only good country will be a country which have elections every 5 years or so on. We have seen many models where there are no such democratic elections or what kind of elections, but where countries are successful providing goods and services to the people. So just to footnote that I'm not saying we must have regular democratic elections to have a functioning country. But since Africa has always been second guessed in everything, when it comes to good governance, when it comes to question of peace, unity, I would like to say we have a country where people are united, where there is peace. After long years of bitter hatred caused by apartheid, and therefore we are proud to say we have a country which is united. A country to have independence is one thing. Another one is to provide goods and services to its people. Now Namibia's 21 years has been excellent. Our macroeconomic factors are in place. Our government is an investor-friendly government. We don't interfere too much in private sector. In fact, we think private sector is the engine of growth, but government does being a facilitator. But having had people who have two societies, we think that the government must also be a coach, but not only a coach, but play a coach. So there are certain things we are reviewing now, like the Investment Protection Act, to also try to empower the local population, which has been left out for too long. But country success also depends on its competitiveness. Namibia has been competitive. We are about number 2 or number 3 always in the World Economic Forum Index. Out of 134 countries, Namibia does very well when it comes to institutions of governance, the judiciary, the banking system, which can rank even among those countries as number 14th in the world. There are many statistics of figures I have here which I could run down to show that Namibia stands in the ranking by the World Economic Forum. The result which just came out. So basically it's a well-managed, well-run economy. But we have still challenges. That's why we come to try to invite investors to come, to address problems we are facing, mainly in education and health. Education because we are trying to revamp the old system, and therefore it's messy, results are not there. We rank very, very high in that of countries. Out of 137, we are about 120. That's a very, very bad, weak area that we want to correct. But we are told that when you want to eat the scrambled egg, we first break the egg. It becomes messy, then you put it together, then you eat later on. So that's what we have an education system. It's messy, we're trying to reform it. We have a child-centered education, not where people are just trying to memorize things, problem-solving approach. And that's why it's messy. So that's the area we are now reforming. We are building infrastructure, the schools, buildings will therefore need involvement from outside. But we are reforming it, and our new minister is doing a very good job. Then health, we have been impacted by HIV/AIDS, very seriously, one of the hardest hit countries, and therefore all other elements, tuberculosis and so on, are very high. So those are only two areas, main areas, very important ones, that we are having problems. But all other indicators are in higher ranks. So that's Namibia. But since I'm not here to tell you about investment and other facilities that we have the expert who is supposed to run you through how Namibia gives some kind of incentives, blah, blah, and so on. So I'd like to call on him to now run you through. Thank you.
Thank you, Corporate Minister and Director of Ceremonies. My name is Moses Pagode, as indicated, and I will quickly take you through without wasting much time. Basically, that is the outline of our presentation. We will look at the investment growth sector, we do a short analysis, and then we look at the private sector, foreign success stories in Namibia, and then what are the key challenges. Some of the challenges the Minister have already alluded to, and then why should you invest in Namibia? Basically, that is where Namibia is. As you can see, the light point there at the top, at the bottom end of Africa. On this side, we have got the Atlantic Ocean, and that is where Namibia is. A very small population of about 2 million people, but vast land size, about 800,000 square kilometers. As a government, we have identified specific areas that we believe will serve as growth sectors within the next 10 years. These areas consist basically of agriculture, tourism, transport and logistics, construction of low housing and manufacturing. In terms of the research which we have done as government, we have determined that within the next 10 years, with specific interventions, we should be able to reach a GDP growth of about 7%. So there will be an increase of 3% per year in order for us to meet the development objectives which we have outlined in our National Vision 2030. Also, we believe that with the specific interventions we should be able to reduce our unemployment rate to up to 12% by 2030. In terms of agriculture, we see a growth potential in the livestock sector, cattle, goat, and sheep production. Here we see that the agriculture sector can add about 1.46% growth per annum additional for the next 10 years, and it has got the capacity to create 16,000 direct and indirect jobs during that period. What are the interventions which we are seeing we should be able to make in this area? Basically, it is to make sure that we clear land to enable that more arable land is available for production, as well as we intervene in the area of effective disease control, and we open more markets for our agriculture produce. We have got what is called the Green Scheme, which is basically a national scheme to ensure that we alleviate in terms of food self-sufficiency as far as irrigation is concerned. Here we are looking at products such as grapes, dates, vegetables, as well as cotton. In tourism, our objective is to double the arrivals of tourists, make it twice as what it is currently within the next 10 years. And here we see that the tourism industry has got the capacity to increase 1.46 per annum additional to the GDP, and to create over 107,000 jobs during the same period. Again, what are our interventions here? To refocus the tourism strategy, focus as well on domestic tourism, intensive marketing, and to increase foreign airline access to the Namibian market, as well as to upgrade our tourism infrastructure facilities in terms of hospitality establishments. Those are just pictures of how Namibia looks like in terms of tourism. Transport and logistics. Here we have realized that transport has got the capacity to increase 1.03% to the GDP additional, and to create jobs of 39,000 direct as well as indirect. The key interventions here, which may be of interest to some of the companies that are here, is expansion of the Walvis Bay port facilities, which is our only deep sea harbor port at the bottom end of Africa, as you have seen. Expansion and maintenance of road infrastructure, upgrade and expansion of rail infrastructure, establishment of a logistic hub in Walvis Bay port, and then to modernize our export processing zone regime. Manufacturing. Manufacturing is very much key to our promotion strategy. We believe that it should be tied to those sectors that have got the highest growth potential. Basically, here we are looking at the beneficiation of minerals in the mining sector. For example, we look at uranium, gold, marble, copper, zinc, precious as well as semi-precious stones. We also look at value addition in the fisheries sector as well as the agricultural sector. And as we have indicated, invader bush, actually, if you look at Namibia, you may think that we don't have timber, but we have realized that we have got vast potentials of timber for furniture, and that timber will come from the invader bush, which is present in vast amounts. However, besides these sectors which we have just pointed out, what we are saying is that we are also open to other investments in other sectors. And here we are looking at mostly the services sector, banking and finance, film production, call centers, mining exploration, including oil and gas, education and health, infrastructure, as well as energy. Some of our success stories. We have recently achieved some notable investments in the mining sector. A big company from France, Areva, the investment amount is about 750 million US. In the agribusiness from this area, from the United Arab Emirates, there is a company called Daria, which is in the date and grape production in joint venture with an American company. We have got someone here who will be talking about that. 18 million. Manufacturing sector, we just got a company from Germany which invested about 250 million in the cement industry. Tourism and hospitality, local investors who have invested about 200 million US in conjunction with the Hegel Group. Okay, I will leave this for the company representative for the joint venture. Let's just quickly look at what are the key challenges. As the Minister has indicated, we have received a favorable rating within the current Africa Competitiveness Report 2010 to 11 of 4%, a fourth position. We are tied with Botswana at that. As you may know, of course, Tunisia, Mauritius, Tunisia, and South Africa are the three top countries in Africa, but Namibia has done considerably well to reach the 4th position, and we believe very soon we should be able to reach the #1 position. What are the key challenges that we are looking at? It's in terms of the areas: health, primary and higher education, training, market size, unskilled workforce, inadequate access to finance, inefficient bureaucracy. Those are the things which are cited in the Africa Competitiveness Report as to why we have received the 4th position. However, of course, some of them we believe are things which we can fix and which we are, as a government, already busy working on. For example, education, as the Minister indicated, education, we have got a reform plan in place which is currently being introduced. The business and legal as well as the regulatory framework, we have got very good incentives, export processing zone incentives and incentives for exporters as well as for manufacturers. We have got these incentives in booklets which is available to you. If you are interested to look at them, you can look at that. But basically what are we saying here in terms of incentives? We are saying if you establish in Namibia and you export, you will be able to pay 0 duty on your imports. For your supplies, for the production process, you will be able to pay 0 duties in terms of your export earnings. This is what we are saying. We have got very good, world-class road, air, and rail infrastructure. And you can see from the Africa Competitiveness Report that this is where we receive extremely favorable ratings of number one, number 2 in Africa. Telecommunications. Once again, excellent network of telecommunications, which is digitalized. And Namibia is located strategically in such a manner that we are able to service the neighboring countries within the region. Our inflation, it's a single digit, quite low, probably 6%. And the financial system, again, this is a soft infrastructure, well-developed financial system. You can do transactions with any part of the world. Workforce, stable, trainable, they can be educated to fit the company objectives. And of course, good foreign reserves. These are the reasons that we say you should look at Namibia, and we welcome you to Namibia.
Thank you, Moses. Clearly there are some wonderful strengths with your country, and as you and the ambassador mentioned, there are some challenges. Some of those challenges seem that they are more appropriate for more government-to-government types of assistance, whether it's the World Bank or developmental banks, etc. So can you talk a bit about how the other government-related entities or our larger developmental banks play a role in helping to bridge some of the gaps that some of the challenges you've done?
Actually, some of the challenges are areas where the private sector can play a role. For example, we have listed education as one of the areas where government is currently busy with some reform. But aside from government, there is scope for companies who have capacity to establish private schools. And as well, if you look in the health sector, again the same. There is scope for companies which would like to establish private hospitals as well as clinics. So there are areas where clearly the private sector has got a role to play. Right as we are speaking at this point in time, we have just received and investment from Turkey, who is busy establishing a private school as a way to alleviate or to lift up the education system, because it's not only government alone who can intervene, but together with the private sector.
So let's take because that was also one of the key issues of education and health mentioned. So with the role that the private sector can play, there are sort of two general ways. One is to provide the teachers, to provide the talent to fill those schools, to fill the buildings. And then secondly, there is to get the building built in the first place. What's the economic one? I think that as a potential investor, the concern would be, how do I get my return on that investment particularly if I invest in the infrastructure of that hospital or that school? What can I charge for that bed, or what can I charge for that desk in order to educate those young people, or to hospitalize, to fix the wounds or the needs of the sick and needy, etc. So give us a little bit more insight into the business model that will allow an attractive or foreign investor to believe that they can get their return back.
Yeah, at this point in time, we do have got in Namibia private hospitals entirely run by the private sector, as well as private schools which are entirely run on strictly commercial basis. They are in the business of making profits, in the business of making money. And when we speak about the private sector involvement, this is the type of involvement which we are seeing. We would like to see an expansion in terms of the private schools that are there, the cluster of private schools, the cluster of the private hospitals that are there, because that which is there in terms of meeting the current demand is not able to do that. That is why you find a very heavy pressure on the government services as well as the existing private services which are available. So this is what we are looking at, a strictly speaking private model whereby the investor will be able to recoup and make profits on his investment.
What percentage of the economy is public sector versus private sector? How significant is the private sector with the economy of Namibia?
In terms of the contribution of the private sector to the economy, the private sector plays a large role in generating or adding to the GDP. For example, if I can just give you an indication of the demographics in Namibia, our per capita income is about $4,000 to $5,000, which is quite high. That is why Namibia is classified as a upper high income country. So from that you can of course determine, of course it is true as the minister have indicated, there is a duality within the system. There is the upper 10% which contributes probably 80% to the total GDP. But you can see that the circulation of money which is there is mostly coming from the private sector.
Good. Yes, sir.
Just to add, yes, private sector is very important, but the population is very small, the market is very small. So if you just look at Namibia, you will say now there is nothing you can get of it. But we are well located to serve neighboring countries. So don't just look at Namibia as a small market. You must think of Angola, the north. You must think of Zambia and Botswana. They are all using Walvis Bay as now their port. So therefore, you must think of neighboring countries. But the population is very small, market is small, but think of satellite.
I think that's a very good point. And this is a question we've asked on other panels with other countries, is the viewing Namibia as a platform to sub-Saharan Africa or to Southern Africa, and to what extent are foreign investors recognizing the benefit of that, given that it's not a large endemic population. And so how does your government facilitate a company coming in and using Namibia as a platform to some of the regional countries?
Yeah, to that end, what we have done is that Namibia is a member of what is called the Southern African Development Community, which is a market actually worth about over $400 billion US dollars, and a population of close to 300 million. Now, within the Southern African Development Community, which has established a free trade area and which has liberalized about 80% of products within that area to be tradable without duties. Namibia is a member of that, and as such, if you establish in Namibia, you are able to export to within this market, a market of 14 member state countries. That would enable any foreign investor who would like to make use of Namibia because of basically the amenities that you can find in Namibia, which is quite a fairly well-developed country. If you compare it to some of the neighboring countries within the community, and therefore would enable that setting up of operations within Namibia, producing for the regional market, or even to set up headquarters within Namibia, producing for the regional market. And not only regional, at this point in time, of course, we are busy negotiating economic partnership agreements with the European Union. In the past, we used to have the Cotonou agreement, under which we used to export our goods, set specific of our products to the EU, again, duty-free. And with the economic partnership agreements, we are also looking at continuing these duty-free exports to the European Union.
Well, that leads us to some of the success stories that I've somewhere on one of your slides you mentioned. And I think that Peter is also here, so we can perhaps get him involved in this. The French have come in with $700+ million. The United Arab Emirates is coming in with a significant stake, etc. Peter is part of the Namibian Development Corporation. Talk about those success stories a little bit and why Arriva, out of all the other options that we have had in Africa and other countries, chose Namibia.
Okay, thank you very much. If we look at Namibia, the size of the country, the potential of the country, we are actually rich in a lot of basic things. If we look at our fishing industry, our mining industry, agriculture potential, untapped potential still on the tourism sector, so there's a wide range of that. On that specific one, value addition can become very important, and it's also economic viable to look at that. For example, certain stones like marble is sort of basically mined in Namibia, then exported to foreign countries quite far away, brought back to the Southern African market, and then sold in the Southern African market. One of the examples that we want to highlight was one of the recent established commercial joint ventures. And I want to emphasize it on a commercial joint venture. It was within the agriculture field, where Namibia has got a bit of a competitive advantage, date palm production. We, in the Southern Hemisphere, is out of phase with the Northern Hemisphere, date producers in the Northern Hemisphere. So from this specific region, the people saw the opportunity. We are 6 months out of phase, they've got a market, there's huge potential. So they entered into a commercial joint venture with the Namibia Development Corporation, where we sort of jointly developed a 200 hectares project there with date palm and table grapes, with specifically serving the regional market and then also export potential on that one. Comfort, if we're talking about a business and people putting in money into this, the government must give you some securities. One of the securities that we've got at that specific one, the government on the highest level has approved a 50-year lease agreement on that specific land, with an extension clause, because date palm is a very long-term nature. So it can be tailor-made for that specific structure. We've got the corporation from Namibian side, technical support, and then also technical, logistical, and then also certain, I would say, infrastructure inputs and development on our side, from their side, financing and the development part of that. We've recently started with that, but this is the the most recent one. But if we come back to the Arriva one, that is actually based on the uranium. Namibia, becoming one of the largest uranium producers, I found correct, currently aiming at the third largest producer in the world. Huge potential in that. And then definitely the foreign companies see this as a potential, and then they come to Namibia. But for us it's important just to take it one step further. And it's one step further in terms of not the basic mining, what is the value addition on that? When we talk about uranium, most of these people come to the yellow coke area stage. We just want to see that Arriva specifically in that case, we want to take it that they do a further processing on that specific one that will be economically for the market in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. A question that was asked in the previous presentation was related to corporate social responsibility and making sure that when you do attract that foreign direct investment, or you do bring in that foreign investor, that how are they contributing to some of the larger issues that the minister and your colleagues have sort of talked about, with the health issues, the educational related issues. So can you speak to, or this is for any one of the panelists on Namibia, to speak to how the government not only provides incentives, of course, for the foreign investment community to participate, but also make sure that they leave something sustainable behind once they've extracted the uranium or extracted the dates, etc.
Thank you. Let me mention one thing.